You're listening to the Go Be the Church podcast.
Juggling everything, gravity takes its toll.
Today's episode is a special one. We're celebrating the release of the official studio recording of All That You Have Grown, a powerful and deeply personal worship song written by our very own creative arts pastor, Jared Prince. You'll get to hear the story behind the song, where it was birthed from, what the writing and recording process looked like, and the heart behind each lyric. It's a journey of reflection, surrender, and the quiet, faithful work of God growing beauty out of brokenness. Whether you've sung this song with us in worship or you're hearing it for the first time, our prayer is that this conversation draws you closer to the heart of the Father and reminds you that even when we can't see it, God is always tending, growing, and redeeming. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's step behind the music of All That You Have Grown.
And so this is a special episode that we are putting together for the sole purpose of talking about a very cool thing that is also being released shortly around this time as well, which is that the first original song written by our church well, I guess not your first original song, but through the ministry of First Christian Church. But before we dive into any of that, Jared, share with the people who you are.
People. I'm Jared.
The listeners.
Yeah, listeners. I am Jared Prince. I am the creative arts pastor here. And
That you are. Well done.
here at First Christian, not here at this podcast.
Yes.
And if you're someone that goes to First Christian regularly, that just means that I lead the music from stage and the teams and the scheduling of our services and music and the things that kind of go with all that.
Nice.
That's my role anyway on staff. There's more.
And to be my best friend.
Yes,
I think that's in your
that is
contract.
actually what I get paid the most for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into the good stuff, question is, what was your favorite childhood movie? Because we were just talking about how Space Jam is your warm-up vocal song. So it made me think, what is your favorite
It
childhood?
most definitely is Space Jam.
Okay, well then there you go.
Yeah, so a weird memory I have growing up that is like simultaneously fond and traumatizing is not the word, but it's
But
like
maybe potentially
fond, but also like there's like it's just bittersweet. We'll call it a bittersweet.
bittersweet. Okay.
Memory. Is that when I was growing up, my mom was a children's pastor at actually First Christian Church in Decatur, Illinois, and if I was ever sick, I couldn't stay home alone, so she would make me like go to church to
Sure.
work with her, and she would just like post me up with like a pillow in a classroom for like 8 or 9 hours,
Nice.
and I would just have to like stay there. It was like the worst, most boring day.
Absolutely. No Price is Right.
But we would pop in Space Jam VHS.
And just
And
repeat, dog.
If I was truly sick and not faking it, I usually would just watch that and then cash out and take
Yep.
like a long, beautiful nap.
There we go.
And so it's bittersweet because it's like I love that movie and I had headaches growing up, so I got to watch that movie a lot. But it was also like I was just like abandoned in a classroom for like 9 hours, like when you're sick.
Oh, memories.
And then you grew up just thinking of church as like the place you get stuck.
Yeah.
all the time.
It's probably not the greatest remembrance of church at an early
church
age.
and hospital. The line was blurred.
The line was
bit.
blurred. Shout out Dorinda though for
Yep.
hooking you up with Space Jam.
Yeah.
That's
Space
awesome.
Jam and usually Goldfish or something. So.
Yeah.
But
just
that's definitely.
snacks.
I mean, who didn't want to be like Mike when they were growing up in the
Facts.
90s?
So, Jude he'll be 9 here this summer. And so when the second Space Jam came out,
Yeah.
it was terrible. Made sure to like try to indoctrinate him as best I can. Like, this is the original Space Jam, so on and so forth. Took him and some of his buddies to go watch the second one. And then like a week later, he was like, Dad, can we watch Space Jam? I was like, oh, praise Jesus, it worked. And so when I put on the original, he goes, no, the better one.
No.
So then we called DCFS to figure out how to. No, I'm just kidding.
We
But-
did a paternity test.
Yeah, we
found
did a
out he's
paternity
not-
test,
he's
figured
not
out
yours.
how to reverse adopt him to somebody else. Man, it was heartbreaking because it is terrible.
Yeah, LeJon Brames
LeJon-
cannot. He's good at a lot of things, but
He-
acting's not one of them.
Yeah.
Also,
So-
his kid, not one of his gifts. But to be fair, Michael Jordan's kids were not good at acting.
also true. So, anyways,
Bugs Bunny was actually the best actor in that movie. I
no,
think.
Bill Murray. Come on, we just
Sure,
had this
yeah, we
conversation.
were just talking about Bill Murray. Yeah.
Bill
True.
Murray knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, anyways.
Yeah.
Shifting gears into the real topic at hand, which is the song that you wrote that is in conjunction with the ministry of our church and a little bit more specifically our current vision we are in, this relentless vision. And so why don't you kind of share with the people the title of the song and maybe just, start there. Like the title and where did that title come from? And then we'll kind of unpack some of the pieces behind it moving forward.
Sure. Yeah, the song is called "All That You Have Grown," and the title, as well as just some of that message and some of the lyrics. Well, it all started with the vision, like you talked about. So, just a little backstory, I guess, was we knew as a staff, and particularly Eric and our elders, that we were moving towards this new vision, and we just begun unpacking that together as a staff and putting the right things into places and kind of the right words around everything, sort of, crafting all those things. And as we sat with this idea of this like relentless pursuit towards this new mission and vision, you had expressed a desire, for there to be worship that really kind of brought these ideas to a culmination for our church to really like rally and celebrate behind, to just kind of be like this anthem call for us to have. And you had said, whether that's finding a song, writing a song, whatever that kind of looked like. And in my mind, I thought, well, I've tried writing worship songs before, and that just has not gone over great, whether it's because of like differences of opinion or leadership or different writing styles. And it's just like, it can be messy. And honestly, I didn't feel like I really had like the heart for it. And so I was just like scouring, Spotify and doing these deep dives, trying to find anything with like the word relentless in it, or, anything that maybe could fit.
Similar at least.
Yeah. That could kind of fit that message. And I remember like I had a couple that we had found, and between you and some other people on the team had sent me, and I'm listening to these and I'm just thinking like, man, I don't want to do these songs. Like these just aren't, and like they're not bad necessarily, but like I don't get excited about them. And it's hard to lead songs that you're not, even if you don't love it musically, that you're not excited about like the message, you're not excited about like what you like. If I don't think our church is going to get excited about it, it's hard for me to be excited about it.
For sure.
It's hard to sell it to the team, when it's just like, oh, here's just another set of words set to chords, you know, and that's what some of these just felt like.
And some of them, if I remember, were like, that song doesn't fit. It just happens to have the word relentless in it.
Yeah.
Or it was like, oh, we really like that part and that part, but that one line is
I remember specifically, there was one that like Catlin shared with me where I was like, the lyrics were really, really good. There was just something about the song. Maybe it was just like the style. I just didn't feel connecting well, like not just me personally, but just knowing like what a lot of our team likes.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see it just sitting as well or fitting as well with like, and it didn't have that, like, I was really wanting to do something that could be a little more like anthemic. And kind of a rallying point, and it was just kind of missing some of that. But even still, I wasn't really planning on writing anything until I had a day off and didn't have anything else to do, and I just had a little kind of burr in my mind from just some of these thoughts, and that's kind of where it started.
I remember the meeting with the 4 or 5 of us trying to find songs, and then it was like a 1-2 week thing of passing songs back and forth. What about this one? What about this one? And then it was like a week later, you came into, I think it was my office, or I think Jen and I were meeting or something, and we were meeting about something, and you're like, oh, by the way, I think I wrote a song for our vision stuff, and then you shared, I think at that point, just the lyrics, or
Yeah, I think I messaged him to you or
yeah,
something.
message the lyrics, and we were like, yeah, this is it. And then I think you just kind of took it from there, added on all the other stuff. And so I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I have never written a song before. I will never write a song before.
Well,
My
you
joke,
did co-write this
that's
with
right.
me.
My
Yeah.
joke is I get to byline this one because I added like a word
Yeah,
or two. So that's probably the closest I'll ever get.
that's something.
When it comes to like writing a song, though, what you've expressed to me, and I understand in its basic terms, it's a very personal thing. It's a very vulnerable thing, authentic thing, can be an intimate thing. And so, because you're not just, like you said, you're not just putting words together that sound good, you're trying to convey a message. So, with this song, the song that you have put together for us and for our church, and hopefully, at some point, other churches in the future who want to take a stab at it. Like, what would you say that is? What is that message or that heartbeat that you felt like you were able to capture in the writing, as well as that you hope people walk away with?
Yeah, there's probably a few things. Just taking a step back for a minute.
Yeah.
So most of the time, if I do writing, it's just for me personally.
Sure.
Band guys I play with, and it's not like church music.
Mm-hmm.
And when you write for that sort of setting, it's incredibly different. Not just because maybe the message you're conveying is different, but also there's not really much concern for whether or not people understand the message. And so
You're talking about like in the quote unquote secular music.
yeah. So writing like so most of the stuff I would write, I would qualify as like indie alternative rock kind of thing. And
Hashtag retro via band.
yeah. And
Check
so
them out on Spotify.
we actually do hopefully have our album releasing in the next couple weeks.
All
So
right, there you go.
but that's for a different podcast.
Different podcast.
And so when you're writing for that sort of,
Uh-huh.
like that sort of genre, honestly, I never want people to know the whole story. Like that's not the
Okay.
intent of the
Sure.
song. It's for
Yeah.
like it's for my own like processing and
Mhm.
catharsis. Sometimes the song is about like 10 different things. Like
Yeah.
it's not like it's not linear. Like the message is not a straight line. And I really enjoy that music where I listen to it. I'm like, I connected with like that line, but I have no clue what this song is about.
Sure,
And
yeah.
if I found out, it would kind of ruin it. Like I
a good
don't
point,
like
yeah.
that. But that's not everyone, I sometimes joke with my friends or whatever. I'm like, I don't think my mom has any idea what my songs are about. Like she'll read them and sometimes she'll just go, because I think she's trying to figure out what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And trying to like, put the images together with
Sure.
like a story. And
But that's kind of the point you're saying.
yeah, and that's
or
very
that's
much the
okay.
point. And so I've tried my hand at like writing some more stuff in the past, and I think that's been the piece that's been the hardest to kind of switch over from is that I can write something that for me is very meaningful, but to others it may be incoherent in terms of
sure.
like theology or message, and that was difficult and partially why I think I didn't really feel up to the challenge
Yeah.
when you originally were asking. And but ultimately, like the reason I felt like I wanted to try it was because I had like a particular thought that was kind of like stuck in my head, and it seemed clear enough that I thought I would expound upon it. And
So expound on that process of like. So first of all, I think that's super insightful. Like just the difference of when you're writing for your secular band. If you connect with the lyrics, great. If not, also fine. We just want you to listen and enjoy it. And I think you guys would say you want them to feel and be moved by something. I don't think it needs to be completely void. But then I'd never thought about that before to say, but when it comes to writing a worship song, or a song that is used in worship services, like
corporate
worship,
yeah,
that it needs to kind of be crystal clear what we are trying to get across and what you want people to experience, so to speak. So I never even thought about that's a really interesting delineation. So then,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons, like, when I lead, sometimes I shy away from hymns because at
yeah,
this point, like, they've become pretty language-wise, they've become to some degree irrelevant
hmm
for people
hmm
today. Like, no one's singing like "Here I raise my Ebenezer" and thinking like,
what is an Ebenezer?
"Oh, thank God I've got my Ebenezer raised."
Yeah.
Like,
What is it? Who is
don't
it? Do I have one?
don't
I don't know.
I remember looking it up several times because I
So what is
can
it?
never remember. I
Okay.
still don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I forget again.
Steven, do you know what an Ebenezer is? A stone of
Yeah,
hope. All right.
still makes little sense to me. Why would a stone be hopeful? I'm sure there's theology behind these things, but the point is pretty disconnected from
Right.
language as we have
Yep.
it today.
No, it's good.
And so something that is incredibly deeply theological many times,
Yeah.
but completely disconnected from the population that's singing it. And so I think that's what I was kind of wrestling with. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to be able to write something that was basically true to the way I write. I mean, I can't write something that is completely unlike me. That's like, yeah, it's like kind of impossible. But then at the same time, I needed it to be, or wanted it to be something that if
Mhm.
people were singing it along, not only would it make sense, but it would feel like it was
Yeah.
hopefully their story as well.
And so you said you started
Mhm.
with a thought.
Yeah.
You had one clear.
Yeah, basically just one like
Thought.
stanza
Yeah.
or line in my
Okay.
head,
Which one was
which
that?
ended up becoming kind of like the second half of the chorus, which is
Okay.
every seed you've sown, you watered in the storm.
Yep.
Um,
Love that.
yeah, and so it's just thank you, and it's just this idea that just kind of grew out of that, of this idea that's like, the seed idea was very closely related to our relentless vision
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. For
And
those
so,
who aren't a part of our church, it's the vision is called Relentless, and then our tagline is that we are sowing seed for kingdom harvest.
Mhm.
So this idea of we are going to sow seeds of different types, seeds of discipleship, generosity, and impact for the sake of that. When we are faithful to, that's like what we can do is we can control the seed that we can sow, but then we're going to trust that God will grow it and that it will be an abundant harvest on His timing. So okay,
yeah, exactly. And so that seed was a seed in my brain,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of ruminating on that, and particularly it's 1 Corinthians 3:6,
Mm.
where I'll read it because there's a little bit to it, but it's this passage where we hear Paul talking about like who's watering and who's growing and who's
Yeah.
planting,
Yep.
and sort of like settling an argument between people. And so here in 1 Corinthians 3, starting in verse 4, Paul writes, "For when one says, 'I follow Paul,' and another, 'I follow Apollos,' are you not mere men? What, after all, is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So, neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes all things grow."
That's good.
And so that, just like a vague memory of that passage,
Mhm.
that idea that the seed was in my mind. And like I said, I use my notes like in my phone
Okay.
to put like just like jot lyrics in.
Yeah.
And so I had learned a long time from like another songwriter a cool like trick, which is basically just like I have this one note just called "The Dungeon," which is
The
just
Dungeon.
where all lyrics they either die there or they turn into something
They're
more.
either locked up forever or they get released.
Yeah. So if at
I
some
have a
point,
similar thing for like sermon illustrations and whatnot.
you're right. Yeah, it's just
Mhm.
like you gotta have a place where you just keep all the ideas because you never know where they'll fit. And so there's just like a lot of random puzzle pieces in there, and I had put it in there, and then I just kept thinking like there's something
Mhm.
to this line, like it can
Yeah.
grow from that, and so that's where it started. There's also I spent some time like just as we were going through this relentless stuff, I had spent some time reading the parable of the sower.
Yep.
And so just like more pieces kind of coming together on this idea
Mhm.
of like growing.
Yeah.
And really the last few years have been like
Mhm.
a season of particular growth for me. And the part I was also like kind of spending some time thinking about was
Mhm.
there certainly is like, especially as pastors, there is like the planting, or as
Mhm.
Christians and making disciples, there's this element of like we're tossing the seed and we're hoping that it falls on healthy soil, or we're watering the seeds that other people have
Yeah.
planted. But there's also this element of like we are the ones receiving also. People have like planted these things into us, and it like we have some say in the type of soil that it falls on. And so like if I have filled my life with sin and my soil is like harsh or barren or toxic, like things aren't going to grow.
Right.
And so
like we can turn our harvest into a jungle of thorny.
Yeah, it felt a little bit, and it felt a little bit like reading that parable. It's like what we do a lot of times where we say like, oh, like I'm the hero in this story. I'm the one going along to plant seeds. And it's like, this felt like one of those moments where you're like, oh, I'm actually the Pharisee in this story and I need to turn it around and see me. And so it's like, oh, I'm the thorny soil and the rocky soil. And so I can at the same time be planting into others and have toxic soil in my own life. And so I think I was just kind of like wrestling with all these sort of themes and motifs and trying to figure out how they fit together. The rest of the song, I just kind of was trying to sit with like I liked it and it was very like artistic or whatever and poetic. But I just kept thinking about like the struggle that usually I have, and I feel like most people have, is like in the day-to-day life, very practical. And I wanted to find a way to like connect like just the anxiety that we have around like feeling out of control. And I think that's very much like what I've struggled with the last few years is thinking I had control of so many things and that just not being the case, and wrestling with how do we let go of those things in a way that doesn't create more anxiety but creates like peace that we see scripturally as possible. And so that's where like the verses kind of started to develop, and
the juggling everything.
So I have that picture in my mind just all the time. I think I've even used it with like you and Jen here, of just like, I'll say a lot of times like, I'm gonna drop a ball. Like just so you know,
cool,
it's
one.
like a really busy season. I'm just preparing you, like I'm gonna drop a ball somewhere. So just like be ready. Don't shame me. Just just let me know so I can pick it back up. You know, if I don't notice I dropped it. And so that's kind of where the verses started developing, is this idea of like this imagery of like we're all just loading our schedules with busyness. We're like just like picking up everything we can. We're trying to hold it all together. But ultimately, like we don't have control over anything really that comes our way.
I think that was the part that when you shared it, because more or less when you gave us the lyrics and then like whatever within the next week, you had like the chord progression and the melody with your guitar, and it didn't change much from there. It was a few words here and there.
I'd pretty much written everything, chords and everything when I sent it to the when I showed it the first time. It was basically done.
It was in pencil,
a little
bit,
a little bit of fine tuning in there.
I think the thing that stuck with me the first time I heard it, and I think where our church resonates deeply with it, is the combination that you struck in the song, which is we are called to sow stuff, and God is the one who does the work. He waters it, but you also hit it with that notion, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, that we are a work in progress though too. That it's not, well, God, you will do something with me once I get my life together, or you will do something through me once I get all of my garbage sorted out. That it was very much, I am still trying to follow Jesus as best I can with a lot of stuff left, right, center, off base, not even close. And so it was that like dual gut punch, but in a good way of, God, you're the one who does this despite me, I think, as you said earlier, while at the same point, too, you also aren't just doing stuff regardless of me. And I think sometimes that's a balance when it comes to the idea of grace in the kingdom of God is, we'll say, yeah, God's the one who does the stuff. Absolutely, amen. Cool, so it doesn't matter who I am or what I do. No. He needs to, as you mentioned, the soils, like, no, like seeds have to get planted in good, fertile soil so that they can grow. And I think that was the part that I think stuck with me specifically, that key line, you've watered in the storm. Like how true is that Jesus is good and faithful and loving and kind and merciful, even in the storms that we are facing, that can still produce fruit over the time. But then but you have bridge there, and bridge one you hear our prayer, God, you know our hurt, you place your hand on the whole of our heart. But we'll never say thank you enough because you will perfect everything you start. And I think that was especially that last line of Bridge 1. Listen to the song, like when you hit that, like when you take it when you let that
Octave up.
loose, that
Yeah.
octave up is like, dude, that's just a straight up banger. Like when it hits, because it is so true that he will perfect everything that he starts. So everything that he wants to start in you, in me, in us, and as individual followers and as a church, that he will see it through to the end, even though there are going to be storms, and little do we know how well that water. So I don't know, like, I guess that's my kind of tee up question is what was going on, and share as much or as little as you feel comfortable with. But like, I don't think that's not a very CCM sounding bridge, but I think it's a very real, like that's very Psalm-esque, if I will. Like when you read the Psalms, it's a lot of my enemies are pursuing me, this, that, but in you I take refuge, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happy-go-lucky, but it's very raw and real and powerful. So I don't know. Yeah, share again what level of comfortability you feel of where that came from, because that came from you.
Yeah.
You know, and me knowing you and your
yeah,
story.
I mean, probably the bridge more than any rest of the song.
1000%.
Like is,
Very
that's
you.
like Jared's DNA in there.
Got your germs all over it.
Yeah, definitely my germs. I mean, it is essentially walking through like a lot of just like how I would categorize just some of the struggles I've had the last few years, whether that be through just like church hurt stuff, marriage issues, just like other sin and things I needed to remove from my life. And there's always this like, there's always this immediate question of just like, you know, I do something terrible and then I get bad consequences, and immediately I think like, why God did you do this to me? You know, and it's like this wrestling with like like I really wanted there to be a piece of like repentance in here and acknowledgement. And so like I was able to bring some of that in the song too, and I wanted it to feel like I don't know how much I realized at the beginning when I started this, but something that was like helping me as I wrote this was this realization that like this song was really a progression of like the Christian life. You know, like this isn't just a song about salvation. This isn't just a song about resurrection. This isn't a song, you know, this is a song that's like kind of walking through like the full capacity of what like a Christian life might be. And so
partnering with God.
Well, you started from like like I'm missing something, like I'm juggling everything. It's all falling by the wayside. Like there's something missing. This idea of like the scale isn't balancing, you know, it's just like, I'm weighing my good and my bad, and I'm coming up short, and I don't know what to do about it. And then we go into like the chorus, this like, we have let you down. We've tried to wear your crown.
Yeah. Dude, that line right there is.
Yeah, it's just like it's a moment of confession to just say like I'm starting to realize that I'm not God, and I'm not in control, and that's that moment of repentance and turning around. And it's not, you don't turn around and you're perfect, as you know we were just talking about. It's like God's the one that's perfecting things, not me. And so we shift from that like we recognize who God is, then God plays his role, and he takes all those things we've done and casts them aside. And then he invites us in, and this is where it kind of connects to our vision is like, as Christians, you know, like we get plugged in at church, we start to recognize who God is. We hear the messages, we sing the songs, we come to this, like through the Spirit, we come to a realization of who we are and who we're not, and who God is and who he is not. And then God does this thing where it's like, well, now you don't just know who God is, but now you're on mission with God to accomplish the things of God. And then he does this thing where like, you know, we take one step and then he takes like 5 steps, and, you know, and just like doubles and multiplies our efforts. And then we get to watch just the fruit grow and the, you know, the stories roll in from life change when it happens. And so that's kind of that like progression. But then we get to the bridge, and it's like, that's great. That's like where a lot of us live in our Christian life. But like the thing where a lot of us stop, and I ran into is like, I was a Christian pretty much my entire life. But if you're a Christian, if you've like never hit a wall and thought like, do I really believe these things? Then I need to know how you're doing it. Cause I would say like by and large, like becoming or being a Christian can continually get harder.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily get easier every day. And so, the bridge was just like basically a way that I could conveniently put down my own prayer, to music. And, it's pretty raw. And,
very much so.
I think I just wanted it to be that way. So much so that like, even like in the singing of it, like you're almost just like screaming it. The song is high enough that you're basically just yelling it. And cause that feels appropriate for some of those words. Like this isn't like, it's not beautiful.
It's a yearning.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think the word,
like you should lose your voice on that part of the song because it feels like if you're not losing your voice, then you're not praying that bridge hard enough.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And I think I have sensed that. And this whole time I've been thinking like, what's the word? Like when I hear it and when we sing it is yearning. It is a yearning for God to do a new thing in us and through us, and a yearning for Him, and a yearning to walk that path with Him. So when you're writing the song, I guess one of my follow-ups was, I get the lyrics part and writing that out. The part that I have zero context understanding for is like the music.
Sure. Yeah.
So where did that come from in regards to the sound, the actual sounds of the melody and the other instrumentation, the drums? Like, how does that come together in that process?
Just a little bit of magic.
Yep.
You know, I mean, honestly, it's like it's hard to like quantify it.
And that's fair.
It's kind of it's like it feels like a little bit of random magic, but also if you were to sit and watch it happen, it would probably be incredibly boring because it's just like
a little try this, try that.
Yeah, just try this chord. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. It works great with this word. And then I go to the next chord. And I'm like, that wasn't it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you just substitute a different chord, and until you kind of get and sometimes it's like, well, that chord works, but maybe it just didn't feel the way you wanted it to feel. Because for every melody, even if I had the melody of like the vocal melody nailed down, there's any number of chords that could still fit. And that's not to say that like what I created was perfect, but it was what I had. And
what's harder when you're writing a song, the lyrics?
I
or
do
the
them
music?
in tandem, so it's not really.
Okay.
So
as you're writing a song, you're also, your brain is creatively working on the sound as well.
Yeah,
too.
and I do that because like I don't want to get too stuck on a melody.
Okay.
That maybe could be better with particular chords.
Okay.
And so there's a little bit of like, you never want to like, you talked about it being in pencil, like you never want to put it down in ink until you're like pretty sure, because it's like, or you don't want to get really set on something so much that you totally miss another cool thing. And so I stick to melodies it's pretty flexible until I really like figure out where I want like the music to kind of sit. And
when it comes to this song, was there a particular line or part that was like, I don't know, I imagine there's a part where it's like, it's really hard. It's the hardest line to come up with, or the hardest XYZ. But then when you got it, you're like, that's it. Is there, when you look at that and all the lyrics, was there a particular part that you had the most difficult time either wording or coming up with? But then was it like cathartic?
Yeah, I think really verse 2.
Okay.
Just in general, it was.
Which read it for
Sure.
everyone.
So verse 2 is anybody listening? Can somebody make me whole? And that's when Jesus cried out, "Leave your burdens at the door." And I think it's because after I
your
did
bird dens.
Yeah, your daughter thought.
My daughter.
She's like, why are we singing about bird dens?
Why do we bird dens?
And yes, she loves the song.
It's her favorite song. She asked, first of all, she refers to it as Jared's song. Jared's church song is what she calls it, because they hear Retro Via in the car sometimes too. Right on. So, but okay. Anyways.
Yeah. So
so verse 2.
Yeah, I think I struggle with just where to go.
Yeah.
Like what was next. And that's fairly common for me. Sometimes there's like a really solid idea, but it's like, but it just leaves you're kind of on the edge of a cliff and you're like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like, or you're at a fork and it's like, which way do I go? But I think I just wanted to kind of stick with this idea of like, probably like what I would say a lot of us struggle with more than maybe we admit is like not feeling seen. Like we're out here struggling and there's no one like me.
Yeah.
And I think like in our hearts, we probably know that's not the reality.
Yeah.
Like we're just like everyone else and that we all think we're like no one else. And, or that no one else is like me. No one else has my struggles. And, this idea that like, not only are we out of control, but we have to fake it like we are. And, like if it's not bad enough to recognize that you're inadequate, but then to have to pretend like you are. And, just like we as Christians, just like we want to be seen for, what am I trying to say? Like, we don't want to be seen for who we really are. We want to be seen for who we think we should be. It's kind of our default.
Yeah, I think it's who we, and then we are, because there is a fear that.
Yeah, or not that we don't want to, we're afraid to be seen for who we really are.
Yeah, and I think whether it's the church, other Christians, but I think that bleeds into God, that like we think we can hide who we really are from God, and it's kind of,
yeah, like God and me have this like don't ask, don't tell relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I just like ended up landing was like if I could put to words how often I feel like when like we don't have to go into all this, but like my wife and I were separated for like 6 months, and so being separated, like there were many times like I was literally calling out to anyone to just like tell me like, we were separated because of my own fault. It's my own problems. It wasn't like, she didn't do something to me, but it's like, I'm still the one who's out there saying like, can somebody make me whole? I don't feel whole.
Right.
And I got to think like that's a story a lot of people have had to like endure themselves. And that very much goes into the prayer, and the bridge, towards the end of the song. And I think you'd ask like the hardest part. So that verse was the hardest probably to write. It took the longest.
Okay.
All this I wrote in like a day.
Yeah.
So it's like none of it really took
Super
a long time.
Yeah.
And it just like, I don't tend to sit down and focus on things for very long.
We've noticed.
Yeah. Actually just got diagnosed with ADHD inattentive type. So maybe I'll start taking medication, then you'll see hyper-focused Jared from now on. But
I don't think I want to know him.
Yeah, no, me neither. But like I said, I don't tend to focus real well for long periods of time. But I was so like absorbed in this. I think I probably spent like 4 straight hours just like writing, and it just kind of
happened.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the way I don't focus, and then I hyper-focus. And so this was like kind of a beautiful moment of hyper-focus. And probably like of all this, like there's a lot of lyrics and stuff that I liked and I thought like just ended up being like really what I hoped they would be. But the one thing that I think still hits me a little more when I sing it is in the bridge. There's the so that whole second half of the bridge, I'll just read it, but it's so Lord, we won't stop praying for change. We're relentlessly praising your name. And then this line, so we won't give up because you won't give in. Yes, you will perfect everything you begin. It just became like that anthem piece I was really looking for. It's like, this isn't a song just like, I'm garbage, God is good, woe is me, sort of thing. It's like it has action in it. And I think it's that like reminder to myself when I sing it, like, I already know you're not going to give up.
Yeah.
And if you haven't said like, this race is over, to put it back in like the words of Paul, if I haven't like seen the finish line yet, then I shouldn't stop running. And just that like declaration of not just me personally, because really this is meant, like I wrote this a lot from my experience, but I meant this corporately.
Yep.
And so that's why as much as I could, I put we in there. So this isn't, I won't give up.
Right.
Although I am declaring I won't give up. But what we are declaring is that we as a church won't give up. We won't let each other give up.
Yeah.
Because we know that God has not given up, not even just on us individually, but as a church, I think we all ask those questions of like, is America going to hell in a handbasket? Is the American church going to, like what's going on in the church today?
Yep.
And those are valid questions to ask. And I don't like ask all those questions. I ask them all the time.
Yeah.
Healthy to ask those questions, healthy to have doubts and
For sure.
challenge. But to also remember that like in the good times and bad times, it's still not in our control. We are still only we are only responsible to God.
Yeah.
He is the one we're responsible to. We don't judge each other. I mean, we can hold each other accountable, but we're not the judges and juries of each other's spiritual lives. Like that's a God thing. And until he has said like, this is the end, you're finished now. As a church, like we're just called to keep on running and keep pushing and relentlessly praising your name.
So good. Well, man, I am, like I said, it's a beautiful song. Just super proud of you for writing it and sharing it with us and being willing to put yourself out there. And I would venture to guess that a couple of years ago, you probably would have never anticipated doing this ever again. And so I think that's a testament to what Jesus has done and is doing in and through you, and how the Spirit brought this together and the timing that he did. And the prayer is that it has been and will continue to be a blessing and a declaration, and that it is I think my favorite part, and we can close with this. I'll close with my favorite part, then you can close with your favorite part.
Sure.
Let me tell you what the best part of this song is that you wrote. My favorite part is that it is very much a worship song that does not sound like a worship song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when we sing it corporately, it's very much, this is a song we are singing as a church body. Other churches could sing it as a part of their worship liturgy, no questions asked. It's theologically sound, it's rich or whatever. While at the same point too, this is also, as you've mentioned and alluded to, this whole kind of like behind the curtain of it is it's a personal, intimate prayer. And it does not sound like what you might hear traditionally as well too. And so major kudos to that too, because I think that's super hard to do. And to like when we rolled it out to our church, like they were in, like boom, we got it, we're good. And so that's my favorite, probably outside of the line I wrote or the word I changed. But I don't know. So why don't you wrap it up with that? Like, what is either what's your favorite part, or what it maybe you're hoping that it can stir on into the future?
My favorite part is it's been the response. I think more than anything. If there are people out there that write music and they're not scared to share it with people, again, I'd love to meet them and learn how they do it. I tell myself all the time, I'm like, I wrote this for me. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And then I have a mini panic attack every time I like share it with someone.
It's like writing a sermon
because
every
you
week,
just want them to, you want to be wanted so badly. You want to be liked so badly. And I think, I've had different responses. Some people love it. I've never had anyone tell me they hate it, but that
people,
they're probably just not.
Jam.
Yeah, they're probably just not telling me. But but
which we don't want to know.
Don't tell me. Yeah, leave it in the comments, please. The response for me though has been not just because it's been good. It's been encouraging. Whether it's been like however it's come, it's been encouraging. And so like I showed it to some of the band and had them like right after I wrote it, I had some of the worship team just stick around and play it through with me just so I can get an idea of like, okay, it sounded okay on guitar. What does it sound like with piano, bass, things like that? Make sure all the chords were fitting. And there was kind of this moment where it's like, oh, this is something. And getting that feedback from like Lisa on piano was playing it, Lisa Ewing, and Amanda was there like listening and like kind of just working on like a harmony and stuff for it. And just those moments where it was like they were immediately supportive. They didn't go into critique mode, which can burn a lot of times and sting when you like are trying to present something pretty vulnerable. And so that was really cool. And then just the response of like you, the staff, the elders, to be incredibly supportive, even so much as to help me get it recorded so that we can, release it and share it. And that was not support I had imagined in the beginning. And so it has not been support I have received in the past. And so it felt very full circle and very beautiful to have that this time around. And so I'm very grateful for that experience.
Well, very cool, man. Well, look forward to hopefully more in the future.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a good place to wrap it up. And so thanks for sharing, giving us insights of where it came from and the process. And so you can officially find this song.
Yeah, July 14th.
July 14th.
This song, All That You Have Grown, will be launched, I think, at midnight. So July
14th.
Yeah, so
12:01.
like Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Sunday night at midnight, I think.
Sunday night.
Whatever day.
Whatever day.
Yeah, whatever
July
day.
14th.
And
12:01.
Yeah, available everywhere you find your music. And it will be launched under what will be First Christian's sort of like worship label team name that we'll use, which is actually First Love Worship.
First Love Worship. Love it. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Go Be the Church podcast. Until next time, stay thirsty.
Thanks for listening to the Go Be the Church podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. We'll see you next time.